And then when you mix him in with Michael Thomas and then newly acquired Jarvis Landry, man, the Saints have a trio of wide receivers that can really get the job done. What's up, guys? This is Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network, here to talk to you about the New Orleans Saints 2022 draft. Since the end of the season, the Saints have probably been one of the most talked about teams. We know that Sean Payton retired the year before Drew Brees retired, so I feel as though a lot of people thought that they were going to blow this thing up and trade away guys like Michael Thomas and Marshawn Lattimore. But guess what? General Manager Mickey Loomis, he had a totally different idea in his head, and he was one of the most exciting guys just to see what they were going to do. Before the draft, they decided to go in and get another first-round pick. Many people thought they were going to package 2 first-round picks to move up to get a quarterback. But the Saints had other plans once again. So I'm excited to get into this draft class because I think the Saints were one of the more exciting teams, and they created a narrative and a storyline to possibly be NFC contenders moving forward into the 2022 season. So with their first pick in the 2022 draft, the Saints decided to go with Ohio State wide receiver Chris Olave. Olave has shown the ability to really take the top off of defenses and then also run really crisp, clean routes to make himself available for the quarterbacks. And that's something I think that this New Orleans Saints offense really needs. We know that we have Michael Thomas on the other side, and he's that big bully, right? Like he's the guy that the cornerbacks, they just don't want to deal with from a physical standpoint. But since the days of Robert Meacham, Devery Henderson, they really lacked that vertical threat. They tried to get it with Ted Ginn, but I think that Ted Ginn was, it was closer to the end of his career than the beginning. So drafting a guy like Chris Olave, I think he would really bring explosiveness to this New Orleans Saints offense and also provide a really good 1-2 punch. And that's something that the New Orleans Saints needs. And then also, if you really want to get the best out of Jameis Winston, I think that you need to surround him with the best weapons. So I think this was a reach overall as far as his draft status and being ranked amongst the rest of the wide receivers. But when you look at it as far as a team need, I think that this was the right selection. Taking a guy that's very experienced in college, and then guess what? Him and Michael Thomas are both from the same college in Ohio State. So I'm expecting this to work out. Michael Thomas to take him under his wing, and this really good duo 1-2 punch of Michael Thomas and Chris Olave to work out and be successful for the Saints. So projecting Chris Olave to this upcoming season, I think he's a day one starter because he has that type of talent. And then when you mix him in with Michael Thomas and then newly acquired Jarvis Landry, man, the Saints have a trio of wide receivers that can really get the job done. I believe that Chris Olave will be a very productive wide receiver. And don't be surprised if we see a lot of 50-yard bombs from Jameis Winston to Chris Olave in this upcoming season. So with their second pick in the first round, the New Orleans Saints went offensive tackle. We know that they lost Teron Armstead in the offseason because, quite frankly, they just didn't have the cap space to pay him. But they decided to replace him with Northern Iowa offensive tackle Trevor Penny. Penny made a name for himself at the Senior Bowl for, quite frankly, being one of the nastiest football players on the field. You talk about a guy that loved to finish runs, and we always tell football players to block till you hear the whistle. This is a guy that blocks past the whistle. So I'm more than sure on the next level, he's going to have to kind of reel it back a little bit. But, man, you love just his mental temperament and the way he approaches the game. So for next year, I'm projecting for Trevor Penny to start at either the left tackle or the right tackle position. And I believe that the Saints have drafted an offensive lineman that will be a starter for the next 10 years. So in my eyes, that is a true success. Next up, in the second round, the New Orleans Saints decided to draft their defensive secondary, and they went after cornerback from Tennessee, Allante Taylor. Allante Taylor is a football player that checks those boxes when you talk about height, weight, speed guy, right? He has really good length, and for the longest time, the Saints have tried to address the position opposite of Marshawn Lattimore, and I think they're going to try to do this with Allante Taylor. Like I said, I think he has really good length. He's a physical guy, but also an underrated part of his game is he has versatility in the sense of the fact that he can play some safety for the Saints. So this is a guy that's a really good athlete, really good football player. He is a bit of a reach because I felt as though they had other football players and corners at this position still on the board, but I like him overall. So while I may not have taken him in the second round, I may have taken him in the third or fourth round, but I do believe he will be very productive for the New Orleans Saints. Projecting him to next year, I think that he will be part of a rotation because while the Saints don't necessarily have that one guy opposite of Marshawn Lattimore, they have a rotation of guys. But I do believe by the end of the year, Allante Taylor's athleticism and just his willingness to just compete at a high level, I think he will take over as that number one guy opposite of Marshawn Lattimore. So next up, in the fifth round, The Saints went with Appalachian State linebacker Demarco Jackson. This has been a bit of a headache for the Saints because I think that they've been trying to figure out the running mate with Demario Davis. Demario Davis has shown to be a true leader of this football team, but we always need a good 1-2 punch at the inside linebacker position, especially for this defensive scheme. They've tried guys like Quan Alexander, who's a very good football player. He just hasn't managed to stay healthy. So I think that they drafted Demarco Jackson to see what they can really get out of him. At Appalachian State, Demarco Jackson was a very productive football player, and he showed to be a true thumper. So I like the pick at this position. I think it was a just right pick. And early on, projecting him to next year, I think Demarco Jackson will be a guy that will be a part of a rotation, because I believe that the linebacker position, especially in the NFL, is such a hard position to grasp, understand, and really play at a high level. So I think early he will be a part of a rotation, but then I do believe that he will be able to see more reps and see more snaps come the back end of the season. With their last pick in the 2022 draft, the New Orleans Saints decided to go with Air Force defensive lineman Jordan Jackson. Jordan Jackson was a very productive football player at Air Force, and his athleticism jumps out on the film to you. So he's a guy that went in the 6th, 7th round because I don't think many people knew about him. So for me personally, I thought this was a good value pick overall. He's had, like I said, he has good athleticism, so he can get after the quarterback and be very disruptive. And if we know one thing about the Saints, it's the fact that they love getting pressure. So I think taking Jordan Jackson, a guy with high upside in the 6th round, was pretty good value for this pick. So projecting him to next year, I don't believe Jordan Jackson will be a starter, but he will be a guy that will find himself in those rotations, especially on third downs, because he does offer very high upside as an interior defensive lineman that can get after the quarterback. So overall, I thought the Saints were able to do a very good job. They were able to draft positions of needs and tackle, and then also wide receiver, and then also get depth position guys, right? Like linebacker and cornerback and interior defensive line. So I think they did a very good job. And then moving forward, right, post-draft, they were able to sign guys like Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu, which I think makes them clear contenders for the NFC. So you guys, let me know what you guys think about the draft and then just the Saints team overall. And don't forget to like and subscribe at the Draft Network.